This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks
tumble. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
I am blessed. Did you get a note about Portland?
Did you just send it to me?
Fluoridation yesterday.
Fordland, Missouri, right down the road from
Portland, Oregon, the largest city
Portland.
in the country without it.
Okay. That is awesome. We didn't get a chance to have our meetup at City Hall, and I'll tell you why. I was at right after the broadcast. I left KWTO at 4:01 on Monday, and I raced over to Roy Birdsong's Choose Your Own Wireless store, and we watched the radar, and it was coming in. It looked like the storm was coming right at Springfield. So we got on the telephone tree and cell phone tree and text tree and email tree, and we blasted out that we would not be going, and because of the storm. I didn't want anybody to be in harm's way because of the city council meeting that we were going to. So we postponed it.
Yeah, just slightly worse than fluoride.
It's more immediate, right? In some cases. In some cases. So what we did, even after calling everybody, there were still between 12 and 14 people there who were ready to take on City Hall. And the technique we were going to use is the General Electric management style technique, which is management by walking around, which really means just look at people and then write things down. And just look at them and then take notes and then look at them. And it makes everybody nervous because they don't know why you're looking at them and what are you writing down. So that was the plan, to look at each one of these city council people and Greg Burris, the manager, and the mayor, and look at them, point at them, and then talk to the person next to you, and then write something down, and do that for the entire meeting. And just, I guess that's called intimidation, isn't it, Dr. Shealy?
Let's just say gentle, passive confrontation.
Yeah, and we talk about this MBWA technique. Everybody grins and goes, "Yeah, that is the coolest thing," because they realize that they've had it done to them at least at some level, and they just love it. Well, so we're going to go back. Not next week, but probably the week after. Will be on the agenda. And we had one of our instructors was involved, David Klotz. He's involved in a petition to get Walmart to stop building more Walmarts in the city of Springfield. Now, some people might think that Walmart's a great thing, but the rest of us don't think that, because we see our jobs going to China, and what actually, Walmart started out saying, hey, we're bringing jobs to the United States. Really? Which jobs? So David Klotz and his gang of protesters have caused the city of Springfield to put it up to a vote for the residents of city of Springfield. Are they going to allow another Walmart? And they may decide that, you know what, there are enough Walmarts. There's enough of them. We've got the super centers. We've got the neighborhood markets, and they say that Walmart creates jobs. But while they're creating jobs, they're destroying more than they're creating, at least in this country and at least in the communities, because the other stores that were there cannot compete with Walmart. They just can't. And they say, Dr. Shealy, they say, it's good to shop local. Well, Walmart doesn't even control its lighting and temperature local. That's controlled from corporate headquarters. And the thing about that is, if you consider the internet, and we had a class for 2 hours on the internet and the potential threats of the internet. Well, it's so potentially damaging to this country. If Walmart controls its lighting and its heating from Arkansas corporate headquarters across the internet, if that goes down, they may not be able to control their lighting in the store or their temperature in the store because there's no local thermostat. Can you imagine that?
Well, since Walmart gave in and was bought by, or is buying China, not sure which is which, it's gone to pot. There is nothing, I don't care whether it's food or appliances or any kind of equipment that I would like to buy from China. It is slightly worse than fluoride. Maybe a lot.
Dr. Shealy, I've got a medical thing I'd like to share with the class about China. Many years ago, when I lived in Virginia, I purchased honey at Sam's Club, and it would come in these large containers, relatively large, maybe quart size, and it wasn't the little bottles, and it said Virginia brand honey on these bottles of honey. And you would think Virginia brand would be honey from the Commonwealth of Virginia or the surrounding area. Well, I drink a lot of green tea with honey, and I'll make a pot with 1 tea bag and 10 cups of water, and I'll have that for the entire evening. And I'd put a teaspoon of honey in there, and the honey would turn the tea black. Now, when I'm saying I made tea with 1 tea bag, literally 1 standard-sized tea bag, 10 cups of water, so it was light green tea, correct? The honey would turn the tea black, literally the color of coffee. So I contacted Virginia Brands, and I said, you guys have a problem. And they said, no, it's not us, it's the tea. And I said, no, it's not the tea. It's your honey. And I explained why, and I tried other kinds of honey, and it was only their honey. Well, they did some research, and they found out that the tea that they were buying that came from China was transported from the hives in galvanized pails.
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yep, galvanized pails. And the zinc from the galvanized pails contaminated the honey, and the reaction was that when you mixed it with tea, it would literally turn black. Now, I'm not exaggerating by saying black. I mean black, like coffee, and like black coffee. Well, ultimately, within about a week, they pulled all of the honey off the shelves at Sam's Club because there was a recall on that honey, because I complained about the reaction that their tea had with honey. And here's what they had to do. They had this honey in tractor-trailer tankers. I mean, they had thousands of gallons of this honey, and it was all contaminated. It cost them a fortune.
Well, if it comes from China, you expect it to be contaminated. You're lucky if it's just zinc instead of lead or cadmium.
Yeah.
But by the way, do you know whether the honey they are selling now at Sam's Club says it comes from Clever, Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
You know anything about that one?
No, I don't know. That experience taught me that I could not trust that particular brand. So I only buy, lately, the last couple of years, I've only been buying honey that I know where it's produced in Arkansas. I buy it right from the producer, and it does not turn the tea black.
Oh boy, it's really sad that not only is J.P. Morgan and Bank of America and Goldman Sachs and the Feds and the United States government corrupt, but so is a great deal of business.
Yeah. And I kind of told the story. Many years ago, I bought a timing light. Did I tell you the story, an engine timing light at Sears? Did I tell you the story?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, literally, when I was in high school, I was interested in automobiles and engines, and I got a job working at a gas station, and I was a mechanic at Sears Automotive when I was about 17. And so I enhanced my skills with automotive technology and engines. And so I had a lot of tools that I used for tuning up vehicles. Well, later in life, I needed a new timing light, and I bought Sears Best timing light. It was about $60 at the time. And, it was a Craftsman, but it was not only a Craftsman, but it was their best model. And it said that on the box. And I used it once, put it back in the box, put it in the toolbox, the tool chest, and needed it just over a year later. And it wouldn't work. So I brought it back to Sears with the receipt, and they said, well, it's out of warranty. And I said, yeah, I know that, but, I only used it once. I mean, there wasn't a scratch, not even a fingerprint on this thing. All my tools are in, great shape. I take care of them. And they gave me such a hard time, and I said, look, if I bought a TV and it had a 1-year warranty and it failed after, a month after, 13 months later, I'd be bringing it back. If I bought a refrigerator and it had a 1-year warranty and it failed after 13 months, I'd be bringing it back. And I'm bringing this back. This is your best one, and I only used it once. And they said, well, we'll give you 10% off the next one. And I said, are you kidding me? You expect me to buy another one after the first one, just like it failed after one use? And they said, finally I talked to the manager, and I said, I used to work for Sears, and we did everything to help the customers, and the customer was first, but not anymore. It's obvious that you guys don't care about the customers. He took me aside, this is store manager, and he said, you know what? We don't work for the customer, we work for the shareholders. That's the problem.
And actually, they really work for their own personal bottom line.
Right. Dr. Norman Shealy, I'm Vin Finelli. This is USAPrepares.com. I've got some medical questions for Dr. Shealy, and I hope you do too. And if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. Dr. Shealy is with us. Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, brain surgeon, researcher, patent holder, inventor, farmer, broadcaster, author, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Norman Shealy is a Native American medicine man. And Dr. Shealy, last week you had a large event going on at the Holos Institute, your Institute of Healing. Can you share with us what that was all about?
Well, Chief Cloud Piler of the Nemenhah Band was doing a training in the basics of, principles of being Native American medicine man or woman. 11 students were there, and one day during that, I think it was Wednesday, I was ordained as, sort of the high priest of the Native American Church. Sort of like being the cardinal.
Uh-huh. That is really cool. So Dr. Shealy, seriously, are you the high priest of the Nemenhah Band?
Well, I don't know whether there are any others. I am sort of, because of my certification of the sacred rings and the oils for application to stimulate them, that is now a major sort of sacrament of the church.
That is really
part of that sacrament.
Wow. I'm wondering if this is that close to like being a living saint? No, I'm serious.
I don't think I'm going to make that one in this life.
Well, I've got bliss right here in the studio. I always do, and that's one of the oils you're talking about. So now, are we saying that it is applying bliss is like receiving a sacrament?
Yes.
Wow.
It's sort of like holy water, or holy oil.
Yeah. Wow. So, are you when you are in this role in the church, is there a certain type of dress that you wear?
No, it does not require a certain kind of dress. It does require what's called a medical bundle. And a medical bundle is sort of your entire arsenal, if you will, or armamentarium of ways in which you apply healing techniques. Mm-hmm. So my particular bundle actually is, I think, a little bit unique because I use an all-one tribe drum, a good size one. It's about 18 inches across, circular. Mm-hmm. And on that I have printed the directions, which are very important in Native American concepts. Mm-hmm. And then I have my various stones and oils and animal representations and plant representations and all of the things that I personally represent as possible healing tools.
As I'm thinking about this, tell me about the animal representations.
Well, I chose a bear, but that represents the entire animal kingdom, which means that in our use of healing, we may work with animals as well as with people or plants. And I chose rosemary for my plant, by the way. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite herbs.
And as you're saying this, I'm thinking, what would I choose? A hammer?
Or a tractor.
I'm serious about the hammer. I was thinking about City Hall.
Yeah. I'm sending you a copy of my medicine bundle.
Dr. Norman Shealy, normshealy.com. Medicine Man. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and every Wednesday we talk about medicine and we talk about some things of interest, general interest to us and hopefully to the rest of the class. And Dr. Shealy is now a high priest of the Native American band, the Nemenhah Band of Tribes, and in association with Chief Cloud Piler, Cloudpiler. And Chief Cloud Piler gave a few presentations at the last Get Prepared Expo, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to repeat that for the July 19, 20, and 21 Expo right here in Lebanon, Missouri. Dr. Shealy, you mentioned rosemary as your favorite herb. Can you tell us why that's your favorite herb?
Well, I think it's perhaps both the taste and the smell. I think it's one of the most pleasant herbal smells, and to me it's indispensable in cooking most meats. I don't usually use it on fish, but I certainly use it on chicken, turkey, beef, etc.
If I were to choose basil, would there be a better choice for me?
Ooh, well, now that I love basil. I particularly, like it as a sauce, but I also certainly drop it into fresh salads.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that I love. I mean, there are huge numbers that are really good. I mean, I like peppermint, for instance. I like it better than spearmint, but these are individuals. They're all good.
Okay. Would cayenne be a choice or not? Because it's
not for me. It would be at the bottom of my list because I don't really like hot spices. On the other hand, in Back to Earth, Jethro Close, KLOS, the sort of godfather of herbalism, he gives more attention to hot pepper than all other herbs combined, than any other one for sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking what Greg Burris might say. If I say Finelli, Greg Burris, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? He might say, cayenne pepper. He keeps burning me and burning me.
Well, I was thinking more like arsenic.
Greg Burris is the city manager of Springfield class, and a lot of times in the afternoon broadcast, I will give out his phone number and tell people to call him and tell him he's fired, and he really doesn't appreciate it. He really doesn't. And Dr. Shealy, I call his secretary, maybe every 3 weeks, once a month, and I'll say, "Hi, Kathy, Vince Finelli. May I have Greg Burris' cell phone number?" And she'll say, "I'm not going to give it to you." And I go, "Okay, thanks very much. See you. Bye." And then I get on the air and I say, "I called Greg Burris' office, talked to his secretary, and I don't have his cell phone number. She won't give it to me. So if any of you have it, just let me know, and we'll make sure the rest of you have it." Poor guy. I mean, he's poisoning us, and we just don't like it. Dr. Shealy, is there an explanation that we can learn about melanoma, why it's the most deadly of the cancers?
Well, the largest organ in your body is your skin. And so I don't know why it is more deadly than the other, but obviously it's connected to everything. Did you know that as the baby is forming, the outside of the little ovum that gets impregnated actually sort of goes inside. It involutes inside. And the brain and spinal cord are made out of what was originally skin.
Wow.
And so there are more connections of the skin in the brain than everything else combined because there's more of it. And it came from skin. I mean, the brain and spinal cord. So it really is a phenomenal thing. Now, why melanoma more than any other? Well, if you listen to dermatologists, you would think it's sun. But I'm not sure about that. I tend to believe that all cancer is primarily a weakness of the immune system. And so if you've got a weak immune system, one of the places going to get affected is the skin.
Well, it seems that people who eat more healthy have less cancer. I mean, I don't have specific numbers from specific research that I've personally done, but just as a casual observer, it seems to me that people who eat more healthy have less cancer.
Well, they have less heart disease, less cancer, less stroke, less high blood pressure. It's one of the four essentials of health is real food. And remember, 80% of all the food in the United States now is unbelievable junk. 45% is McDonald's and its clones. I wouldn't even like a cup of coffee at McDonald's. I wouldn't trust them to not put in aspartame or God knows something worse, monosodium glutamate. It's in the salads even. And so all fast food is junk. Then you go in the grocery stores. 60% of everything in the grocery store is unadulterated junk. If it's in a bottle and it has more than 1 basic single food and maybe some salt, it's probably junk.
Dr. Shealy, as you say these things, I'm thinking about my discussion with the senior vice president at KWTO a couple days ago. And I was meeting with her to see if I should renew my agreement to keep broadcasting there. And I was really serious about, do I want to keep doing it there? I mean, I want to do it on Genesis. I'm really delighted to be here in the mornings. But in the afternoon, it kind of messes up my day. So it's tough to be a farmer and, be broadcast at 9 and then at 10 and then at 3 o'clock. So I said to her, we're talking about the audience reaction to the stuff we say. And your name came up, too. And she said that we are the best two guys that they have at the station. So I want to let you know that. And she said, Vinny, we don't get any complaints about you. Now, as you're talking about, you just rattled off McDonald's, and, you just... And we do that on the air almost as a matter of course. We talk about poisons in fast food restaurants, and we tie them together, but no one has complained. No, McDonald's has not called up the radio station to say, hey, listen, if you don't take those two guys off the air, Dr. Shealy and Vincent Finelli, we're coming after you. We've got our lawyers all ready, the engines are running, and we're coming your way. No, they won't even take us on, Dr. Shealy.
Well, I think we're small fry compared to them. I mean,
that's true.
Let's face it. They could care less about two little country hicks.
Well, tell you a story. Yesterday, we built our farmhouse, and we bought a brand of windows, which I will not mention at this moment. And they're casement windows. Those are the kinds that you crank with a hand crank, and they open outward. The windows are actually vertical, and they open outward with a crank. And then if you want to close them, you crank them. Well, they don't close all the way. There's like 5, 6, 7, 8 of them that just don't work right. And as soon as we got the house windows installed, I called the company that sold us the windows, and they came out and they said they can't fix them. They tried. So for 8 years, I've been calling, trying to get these windows fixed so I can close them. And I can't get it done. So I finally, exasperated yesterday, I called the manufacturer, and I said, I've got these windows, and they won't close. And they said, well, when were they installed? And I said, 2007. And the gal says, well, they're out of warranty. And I said, yeah, I know. I know. I've been calling for years, 7 years to 8 years to get these windows fixed. And, I keep getting the runaround. I'd really like them fixed. She said, there's nothing we can do to help you. I said, are you serious? Are you serious? You're not going to help me? And she said, no, they're out of warranty. And I said, I've been working with you guys for all these years, and you won't help me. And she said, yeah. I said, can I talk to the president of the company? And she said, no. So I said, okay, let me tell you what I do. And I said, I'm going on the air in about, a half hour. And starting with that program, I'm going to talk about you guys every day. And she said, there's nothing I can do. And I said, are you sure? She said, yep. So I said, all right, thanks a lot. I guess there's nothing else we should talk about. So I called the guy I called the company that sold me the windows. It's a large chain of home improvement or lumber yards and multi-state. And I talked to the president. I got put right through the president. I explained to him. He said, well, we're not going to carry their windows if they're going to treat you like that. Okay, now we have some ammunition. A couple minutes later, I got a call back from the president of the manufacturer, the guy that I would not be allowed to talk to. He was scared to death. He was scared that I was going to talk about his company and tell everybody my experience with them. So, actually, Dr. Shealy, I'm really kind of surprised that having a microphone is a big advantage. It really is, compared to just being an individual complaining. But when you say we're two country hicks, yeah, that's true. But maybe they will take notice, because I don't eat at McDonald's. I don't eat at any fast food joint anymore. I do what you told me to do years ago, which is if you're really hungry and you really need something to eat and you're going past the McDonald's, keep going.
Well, I have to say it one more time. I went there in 1962. It was new in Cleveland at that time. And I took one bite, and I spit it out and threw the whole thing away.
Yeah.
And I won't ever go back.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I did go to John Silver's once. If anything, it was worse.
Yeah.
How you can ruin fish is beyond me. Both times I spit it out.
Class, you're going to get a chance to meet Dr. Norman Shealy at the Expo. You're going to love it. He's just like this. No change. He's the real deal. I'm Vin Finelli. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. Norm, as in Norman. Shealy, SHEALY.com. If you'd like his free newsletter. Dr. Shealy, you've been to the farmhouse many times, and you've met Ayudi, our Neapolitan Mastiff, and a lot of times when guests come to the farmhouse, we'll be in the kitchen, and we'll sit around the kitchen table, and we'll have something to eat or have a beverage or something. And Ayudi really likes being under the kitchen table. So she's well over 100 pounds. And the funny thing is, we're all sitting there around the table, and then we smell this smell. And everybody looks around like, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And it's Ayudi. Now, Ayudi has gas, and that's one of the features of a Mastiff, a Neapolitan Mastiff, as I found in my research. Well, our new puppy, Thomas Jefferson, TJ we call him for short, is an English Mastiff. He's 6 months old, and he has overtaken Ayudi in size. He's bigger, longer, heavier than she is, and he's only 6 months old, and he's going to grow until he's about 2 years old. So he's probably going to weigh in between 165 and 200 pounds. Well, TJ, the English Mastiff, has gas that will peel paint. I mean, not only is it frequent, it's corrosive. Dr. Shealy, and the Torn dog, they all patrol the house, so they sleep wherever they want at night, and they take different positions for guarding the house, and they've figured this out on their own. So TJ, when he sleeps on my side of the bed, and he faces the door. So if he looks up, he's going to look at whoever might be coming in the door. But the other end is aimed right at me. And seriously, the gas from this dog really will peel paint. So my question is, he eats lamb and rice, premium dog food. We supplement it with things like potato peelings, and after they're washed and things like that. What could be causing that, and what is gas?
Well, it's typical of dogs. It's well known, and gas is mainly a combination of sulfur and hydrogen, and it's the sulfur that has the difficult odor. Now, if you were to, the number one antidote is live yogurt.
Okay.
If you don't want to use yogurt, you could use the GR8 Dophilus 8-strain probiotic capsule. Put a couple of those in his food.
Okay. So live, he loves yogurt. He absolutely loves yogurt.
So he's already getting some.
Well, not as much as he would like, but he has gotten some. And now that you say that, I can correlate the absence of as much gas when he has yogurt as when he doesn't.
I think I'd be sure that he gets adequate yogurt every day. Hey, Dad, more yogurt, please.
Well, seriously, I mean, we have, we've smelled this gas on other animals, but he absolutely wins the contest.
Now,
so
if that doesn't work, you could get charcoal tablets or capsules. that can't
Charcoal.
help. But I wouldn't like that long term. As a short term remedy, it'd be fine, but it may interfere with absorption of some of the other nutrient absorption. But actually, Amazon even has Vet's Best Gas Busters.
Amazon, Vet's Best Gas Busters.
Veterinarian, Best Gas Busters.
Okay, when we come back, Dr. Shealy, can we talk about chamomile tea? Because we've got a post on the website that it contains ingredients that can fight disease. Chamomile tea. Dr. Norman Shealy, Vincent Finelli. We'll be right back, right after the top of the hour breaks and commercial and news. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? This is hour number 2. USAPrepares.com. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Norman Shealy is a Native American medicine man, high priest of Native American medicine. Dr. Shealy, we were talking about chamomile tea, and we have a post on the website, usaprepares.com. It says, chamomile tea fights cancer. There's a chemical contained in the drink that takes away superpowers in disease cells, and it can halt the spread of cancer. What are your thoughts about chamomile tea?
Well, it's best known for digestive problems, upset stomach or indigestion or even diarrhea. Secondly, as an anti-anxiety or slight sedative. Those are its best known features. And by the way, it's spelled two ways, C-A-M or C-H-A-M-O-M-I-L-E. And I don't know why they have two spellings, but anyway, there are. I would have to look that up and see what kind of evidence there is. Certainly it's safe. It is said, interestingly, that other plants grown in the vicinity of chamomile are healthier. So maybe it is good for the immune system.
Well, I remember when I was younger, and I'm talking about maybe my early years, let's say 12 and under, my parents would say, if I were anxious, they'd say, why don't you have a little bit of tea before bedtime? And it would be chamomile tea. It would not be, any other kind of tea. It wouldn't be Lipton's, black pekoe or orange pekoe and black cut tea. It would be just chamomile tea. And it did seem to have those soothing effects of reducing anxiety. Not that I was hyperactive. It's just that, this will, I don't know, make you sleep better or something.
Yeah, yes, that's right. The reason I would never take it except at bedtime is I don't like anything that would make me sleepy in the day. But interestingly, that thing that just came out within the last 10 years, chamomile tea could fight superpower of cancer cells. That is yes, but interestingly, parsley and celery have the same compound in them.
Parsley and celery. Okay. All right.
The compound is APIGENIN.
Okay, the spelling of that is in the post class. If you'd like to read it, it's APIGENIN. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but there it is. And if you'd like to read the article, it might encourage you to try chamomile tea if you haven't, and if you have, it might encourage you to continue.
Well, it's certainly a reasonable thing to do for most people as an adjunct to overall immunity. That I like.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, I got an email from the American Red Cross. I'd like to read this, and in light of the damage that was done by the weather in Oklahoma. And we have several of our instructors who are right in that area. Mike Ma Joel Johnson, Dr. Pat Hutton. They're all right near Oklahoma City. And the email letter is, Dear Vincent, yesterday the severe weather that has been ravaging the United States throughout the spring took a turn for the worse and brought heartbreaking devastation across the Midwest and South, including Oklahoma, North Dakota, Tennessee, and Iowa. The damage is profound, widespread, and the full impact has yet to be realized. Red Cross disaster relief workers are on the ground as I write this, providing urgently needed assistance, including food, water, shelter, cleanup supplies, and emotional support to those who were affected. And we need your help. The Red Cross is there for families in need, and you can make a difference. We'll be opening up additional shelters and delivering thousands of meals and water in the coming hours, days, and possibly weeks ahead. But we can't do any of this without the generosity of individuals like you. You can help people affected by disasters like tornadoes, floods, and other crises by making a donation to support American Red Cross disaster relief. I hate to say it, but it isn't over yet. The National Weather Service warns that the threat of severe weather continues from Texas to the Great Lakes. Be sure that you and your loved ones are prepared and stay safe. View tornado safety tips or download the free Red Cross Tornado app. Our hearts and prayers go out to the families impacted by the incredible damage. If you or a loved one needs assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. It doesn't say where to reach out, just reach out. And thank you for helping the families affected by disasters. Sincerely, Richard Reed, Senior Vice President, Disaster Cycle Services, American Red Cross. Well, you know me, Dr. Shealy. I'm an American Red Cross volunteer. So I called the Red Cross, and I said, I'd like to know, are you accepting volunteers to go to Oklahoma? And they said, well, most agencies only accept registered volunteers. I said, I'm not calling most agencies. I'm calling you, the Red Cross, here in Springfield, Missouri. And she said, well, we're only accepting registered volunteers. And I said, okay, well, I'm a registered volunteer. And she talked about how all the registered volunteers are background checked. They are, they are run through a background checking service, that really leaves no stone unturned. So I'm one of them. And I said, okay, I'm registered. And she said, well, we're not accepting registered volunteers.
The world is insane, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So, and I said, wait a minute. There's a disaster. This is a huge disaster, possibly the largest weather-related disaster to hit this country. And there are people that need help. And she said, we are not accepting spontaneous volunteers. So I was on the radio yesterday on KWTO, right outside of Oklahoma. And I said, if you feel the need to help, go ahead. Don't wait for permission from the Red Cross. Who are they? These guys are preventing people from helping. That's who they are. They are a business. And, my blood was boiling. And, as I was reading this, and I was thinking, I remember the sign in Joplin, and I called the Red Cross right after the Joplin tornado, and I said, I'd like to go. And they said, we're not accepting volunteers. And I said, are you kidding me? So I drove out to Joplin. Right after the Joplin tornado, and there was a great big sign on 4x8 sheet of plywood or particle board, and it was spray painted on there. We need help. Okay, that's as you entered the city, and people were going there to help, and they had chainsaws, and they were removing debris and looking for survivors, and I had my Red Cross volunteer, lanyard and my ID card on, and I was not approved to be part of the Red Cross search and rescue team. I was not authorized. I was violating probably whatever policies they have by just showing up, because I wasn't, approved to go on this trip. But I didn't care about whether they approved me or not. I was on my way there, and I was on the ground there, and we talked to people, and they said. We said things like, who's been here so far? And they'd say, you're the first ones we've seen. You're the first ones we've seen. We haven't seen anybody, just you. Dr. Shealy, what I'm saying is we can't depend on these guys. They are in our way. They are preventing people from being rescued. And so yesterday I got beat up on the air a little bit by a guy who called up, and he said, don't self-deploy. If you self-deploy, you're going to get in the way. Get in the way of what? Of rescuing people? Oh, man.
Guess what the salary of the chief executive of the Red Cross was in 2005?
Well, I'm going to hazard a guess about $640,000.
$651,957, and that was 8 years ago.
Okay. Well, the Red Cross, I mean, Dr. Shealy, people look at that Red Cross and they say, there's help, there's hope, there are services. These guys are our friends. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
It is not a charity to which I would donate. Salvation Army is actually the best of all charities in the country.
I believe that, and I agree with that. And the reason is not only do you get the chief executive, and I think his title is commander. You get his wife and him, and both of them for the year less than $50,000.
Right. Yeah,
and part of that is their housing allowance.
Like 90% of charities.
And part of that, probably the big component of that compensation of less than $50,000, I think it's around $46,000, is housing. So it's not now that's the way to go. That's a lean organization compared to a bloated. I think the Red Cross is quasi-government. I really do. I don't know how they're linked, but I'll tell you what. Dr. Shealy, I invited to Expo number 1, the Red Cross. Expo number 1. We are now on Expo number 6. The Red Cross said, yeah, we're all excited. We'll be teaching first aid, and we'll be teaching, field dressings, and yeah, we're all excited about coming. All of a sudden, I got a call from the Red Cross after I advertised them on television and radio and the internet that they were coming, they were going to do all these things. They called me and said, we can't come. And I said, why? Are you kidding? And they said, well, you guys have a gospel concert. And I said, that's not us. That's in the same building at the same expo hall. That's at night after our expo closes. They said, well, we can't get involved in church and state. I said, it's not us. They said, okay, well, you're also having the Tea Party. And I said, it's not a party. They said, we can't get involved in politics. So the Red Cross, the National Guard, the Missouri National Guard, and the Civil Air Patrol all pulled out the same day because they were ordered to from Washington, D.C., all three of them. Dr. Norman Shealy, I'm Vin Finelli. This is USAPrepares.com. Dr. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, you sent me an article, Portland, Oregon rejects water fluoridation, the largest city, U.S. city without plans to add the chemical. I want to thank you for that. I posted it on the website, class, if you'd like to read that. It's a very short read. And it talks about how Portland, Oregon will not be adding the chemical fluoride to the city's drinking water. And, of course, the proponents of adding it say that it's safe and it's good for you, and the opponents say no. And I forwarded that post. I sent an email to Kathy Hart, Hardt. She is Greg Burris's secretary, city manager of Springfield, Missouri. I sent her a link to that, and I asked her to share that with Greg Burris and City Council. So they will have that information.
Maybe we should elect the City Council of Portland.
Well, here's the plan. The plan in Springfield, as I've mentioned on the air in the afternoon, is really simple. Number one, we show up and we want fluoride removed from the water. Number two, we show up and we want, this is USA Prepares showing up at City Council meeting. And I have a feeling we will be one of the biggest forces that they've ever seen there. Step number two will be we want our taxes reduced by 50%. Step number three is if the first two steps don't work, we want new representation. And we'll throw these bums out.
By the way, there is a reason for all of the problems in this country. H.L. Mencken said it in 1920. As democracy is perfected, the office of president represents more and more closely the inner soul of the people. On some great and glorious day, the plain folks of the land will reach their heart's desire at last, and the White House will be occupied by a downright moron.
Wow. You know, what I see, you know, if you start with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, if you start with guys of that character, and you look at the intelligence and you look at the quality of their speech and how they're able to deliver oratory and succinct verbiage, if you look at that, and then you look at the stammering, the stuttering, the poor delivery of what we have for the last 20, 30, 40 years, we are in a downward spiral of intelligence. We're in a downward spiral of representation. We are in a downward spiral of thought and ingenuity. And you're absolutely right. And we are going from brilliance to becoming morons at the highest levels. And I look at Barney Frank. I mean, that guy, and Maxine Waters. I mean, who in their right minds would elect anything like that? And you look at, and even in Springfield, Missouri, we have a guy who is against. He says he's against fluoride in the water. He knows it's poisoning him. He knows it's poisoning his children. He knows it's poisoning his wife. He knows it's poisoning his family. He says he is against fluoride. He wants it out of the water, and he's working on it. He's been working on it for 13 months now. Time's up. Time's up. So, Dr. Shealy, it's not like it's a nuisance. It's a poison. It's a poison. And yet we have plenty of time for it. And these guys get a committee together, and a committee is a group of people that in government committees, when they put one of those together, that's a group of people who is not competent enough to make a decision by him or herself, and they get a group of them together, and it magnifies the problem. So now no one is even remotely capable, let alone collectively capable, of making an intelligent decision. That's a committee, in my definition.
That goes along with the fact that only 3% of all Americans, only 3%, are even dedicated to taking care of themselves. I mean, that to me is the most astonishing fact in America today. People who smoke. There's 20% of adults still smoke.
What are they thinking?
After 60 years of national attempts to cut it out, it is still a major cause of illness and death. But more importantly, excess weight. 2/3 of all Americans are fat, or at least significantly overweight. That's now the number one cause of premature death.
But not you and not me. I know that for a fact. Dr. Norman Shealy, Vincent Finelli. We'll be right back. Dr. Shealy, I've got a question to ask you. I need some guidance, and I'm very serious about this.
Sorry.
I need some of your wisdom and guidance, and I'm serious. I have. You know, I'm on this quest about fluoride, and it just bothers me if I go to Ziggy's, and I don't go out to eat, but it really bothers me that if I go to Ziggy's and they make coffee, or if I have water with lemon, or if I have an iced tea, or some kind of a beverage, or I have something that they've added water to in the meal, and they've got great food there, but I'm being poisoned. And it's not Ziggy's, they're not doing it, it's the water from the city of Springfield. Well, so I've been passionate about this, and the reason I'm so angry about water and fluoride and what they're doing to us is because I called to find out information, and I got the standard government runaround. Call this guy, call this guy, call this guy. We'll call you back. He's not here. He's in a meeting. He's out today. He's doing something else. We'll call you back. And of course, they never have the answers. They never will provide the answers. So finally, I took it all the way to the top, to the city manager, and I said, okay, I want to know what's going on. And I got the runaround. So I said, okay, fine. They want to do it that way? We're going after them. And that's why I'm passionate about this, going after the city of Springfield for poisoning us with fluoride. And I think that the message here is that if we can do it in Springfield, a community of a couple 100,000, we can replicate this all over the country. Now, here's the question. I have been taking heat from a number of people saying, Vinny, knock it off. You're wasting your time. Don't bother with this fluoride. Stay on the important stuff. Stay with preparedness. Teach that. And my response, Dr. Shealy, is very simple. No, we can't prepare if we're being dumbed down, lulled into comas, poisoned to the point where we can't get off the couch, can't even get enough energy to push the remote on our TV to reprogram us onto whatever the mainstream media wants us to think about. No, I want to go after fluoride. I want to stop it there as the number one item to fight so that we can continue the fight for the other important issues. So here's my question. Am I wasting my time? Am I just going to continue being frustrated with this fluoride thing, or should we continue?
I don't think you're wasting your time. I can't tell you whether you're going to continue to be frustrated. There is a certain philosophy that I think is at the top of my list. And I think I live it 99% of the time. Do not waste energy on things you cannot change. Mm-hmm. This can be changed, but if you're going to spend energy on it, then you have to detach from the frustration.
Okay.
And set it as a goal, but not worry about the idiots in the middle. Mm-hmm. That's really the problem. So you have to detach from the people who have eyes and ears and see and hear not. Mm-hmm. That's the number one thing, because otherwise it is stressful to your whole body. And it isn't, being stressful about somebody else's moronic behavior is not good. Mm-hmm. So take a deep breath and say, I'm going after them, but I am not going to raise my adrenaline.
Okay. We have in the past, we have been successful on every battle, every skirmish that we've been involved in. Fish and Wildlife, we went after BMW. We went after those people who had the antenna tracking arrays in malls to follow shoppers through the paths that they took by using their cell phone GPS coordinates. We went after them. We stopped all of the things that we went after. We were successful in, but this fluoride thing, this thing is deep-rooted. I mean, it's got more lives than a cat. It's got more armor than the military. It's unbelievable.
But Vinny, you've got to recognize that it is part of the great, 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 great chemical mafia. There's no difference in this and Monsanto and GMO foods. There's no difference in this and the pharmacomafia. There's no difference in this and J.P. Morgan, the evil empire destroyers, etc. They're all part of the same evil cult. Fluoride is not just a city or nation problem. It is a problem generated by the chemical mafia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I'm going to continue the fight, and won't that be cool if we actually win this one?
Well, I think it is cool, and it is part of preparedness, is keeping your body as healthy as possible.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's...
Remember, Vinny, if people will not stop smoking, stop getting fat, not eat more than 2.2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and not exercise a paltry 30 minutes 5 days a week, why should they be interested in anything? They don't care if they die prematurely. Yeah, the only 3% of people care.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And there is no one in our family that smokes. I'm talking about, my immediate family, Vincent Finelli, Mrs. Finelli, our children. None of us smokes, none of us is overweight, and none of us is allergic to exercise, and none of us is allergic to hard work. And all of us avoid chemicals chemical poisons at all costs.
And you eat
Dr.
real
Shealy,
food.
I'm sorry?
And you eat real food.
Yeah, we do. We do. We try to grow as much of our own food as possible. By the way, I wanted to share this with you, and then I'd like to talk about an article you sent me. There is, it's making the news, the underground news, that those who speak out against the government can be considered by the government as potential terrorists.
Of course.
Dr. Shealy, that's everybody on Genesis Communications Network. It's all of us. And, it used to be that we would be able to be critical of our government for making mistakes. And now it's really easy to be critical of the government for making mistakes. They're involved in all kinds of scandals. They're spying on us. I mean, they are doing all kinds of things that make it easy to talk about them and be correct. But those of us who speak out, that would be including me and you, Dr. Shealy, we can be considered potential domestic terrorists by the government, because we're critical of them.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, let's face it. We have control of the country, 535 or whatever it is, people who have no testicles in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
They are making themselves rich illegally, unethically, and not caring about anything else. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I wonder if we study the genome, if we find out that there's a specific trait, or is there a specific chromosome for becoming a politician, whereby the greed.
Well, it's an error in genes chromosome. If it is. It is the ultimate deterioration of the human genetic pool.
Yeah, we need to do a genectomy. Dr. Shealy, you sent me an article which I think is really, really neat. And you and I have been talking about this, and I think some people think that we might have been nuts with our discussion of this. And I'd like to say that in the 1990s, when wireless communications was becoming deployed in school systems in Virginia, where I was a consultant, I warned all of the school systems that I consulted for, absolutely don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Don't put in wireless communications for computing, because 15 years from now, we're going to be reading about this, and we will be complicit in the health effects as a result, and the cancers resulting from wireless communications with electromagnetic radiation. And you just sent me an article just a couple minutes ago, Looming Health Crisis, and I posted it on our website, usapreparedness.com, Wireless Technology and the Toxification of America. And the article talks about the meters, the smart meters, the electromagnetic radiation that is everywhere, and it's killing us, Dr. Shealy.
No question about it. It's just like fluoride. It's the same thing. And as you know, I sold my clinic building on the north side of Springfield because of electromagnetic contamination. Not just in the building, but everywhere in Springfield. I didn't like to go in the city anymore. It's got 3 or more milligauss of electromagnetic smog all over it.
I wonder if some of the anxiety that I see in people in Springfield, Missouri, I wonder, and I don't think it's any different from other cities, I wonder if some of that is related, the anxiety, the attitudes of some people, negative attitudes, as a result of the RF and electromagnetic frequency exposure. But according to this study, it says that there's an 850-page document that's referred to in this post that you sent me, with over 2,000 studies linking RF, radio frequency, and electromagnetic frequency exposure to cancer, Alzheimer's disease, DNA damage, immune system dysfunction, cellular damage, and tissue reduction. I mean, man, oh man.
And other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, what is the problem?
Well, if just 1% of that is true, there ought to be, we ought to be storming City Hall saying, we want this turned off right now.
You got it.
Dr. Shealy, you live in a brick house, don't you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you know, there are reasons for your brick house. When we built ours, we built it out of stone. We brought in 220 tons of stone. And stone is like two-thirds of the construction. The rest is mortar to put the stone together, to keep this stuff out, to keep this electromagnetic radiation out as much as possible. Class, I think it is really, really serious. Electromagnetic radiation. That's one of the killers. That, fluoride, medicines, the pharmaca mafia. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Dr. Norman Shealy, normshealy.com. Be sure to get his newsletter. Class, if you'd like to contact Dr. Norman Shealy and get his free newsletter, normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Norman Shealy did his undergraduate at Duke University and his internship at Harvard's Massachusetts General. He's a brain surgeon and author of over 28 books. He's been broadcasting for over 2.2 decades on the radio, and I'm just delighted to be with him on the air, and I'm very fortunate to have Dr. Norman Shealy as a personal friend, family friend, and I'm very serious about that. Dr. Shealy, the article that you sent me about radiating children, or electromagnetic radiation, talks about radiating children with electromagnetic radiation. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it, and some people can't feel it. I believe I can. But schools are being built near high-tension power lines, and they have been since the 1970s, even the 1960s. Cell towers are being installed within a quarter of a mile of schools. A quarter of a mile is 1,320 feet. Here in Missouri, 40 acres would be considered a small farm, a 40-acre farm. That's a quarter of a mile by a quarter of a mile. So a square, 1/4 of a mile by a quarter of a mile is 40 acres, to give you a kind of feel for how close these towers are to schools. And these towers are blasting these children, in a 360-degree radius of the towers, electromagnetic radiation, the same frequency as you cook with in your microwave oven. And what's happening is, these smart meters need to communicate with something. So what do they do? They communicate.
I don't have a microwave.
Yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is, people who do, it's the same frequency as if you're cooking in a microwave oven. So you're doing it slowly, just like Greg Burris is poisoning the community of Springfield, Missouri, slowly, but they're being poisoned, and it's cumulative. Dr. Shealy, we've talked about the half-life of fluoride is 20 years in the body. So, yeah, we're cooking ourselves slowly with electromagnetic radiation. But here's what I wanted to share with you, Dr. Shealy. I've never told this story. In Virginia, I had a friend who had a farm. I'm using that term loosely. I knew this. She was a teacher, and her husband had a business, and they had a small farm, maybe a 40-acre farm. But their farm sat just high on a knoll, and it was one of the taller properties. Not the tallest, but one of the taller properties in the area. Next thing I know, the cell phone company is building a tower on their property. Maybe a few hundred feet from their house. I'm talking a tall steel cell phone tower. And I asked them about it. I said, what's going on? They said, they're paying us $900 a month. So for $900 a month, they are willing to irradiate or electromagnetically irradiate their entire family for $900 a month. It's going on all over.
it's one of the reasons that I sold my building in Springfield and moved out to our farm. We're 14 miles north of I-44, and we live on only 256 acres. And yet, 5 miles from us in one direction and 7 miles from us in another direction are TV signals. Now, those do show up. They're in the megahertz range. But at least in the common, 60 cycle range, which is what we ordinarily measure as the most dangerous, we don't have any measurable stuff in the background here. And I'm sure you don't either.
Well, when we bought our farm, Dr. Shealy, Mrs. Finelli, before we bought it, we looked at the maps, and then we drove on every single road, and we looked for substations, we looked for toxic waste, we looked for antennas, we looked for every imaginable method of being poisoned through the air, through radio waves and everything, and we found an area where it's semi-safe. But it's everywhere, Dr. Shealy. It really is.
Well, we all do the best we can, and don't get upset over the nonsense we can't change.
You're right. Dr. Norman Shealy, thanks so much for being with us. I'm Vincent Finelli. The post is on the website if you want to read about electromagnetic radiation. normshealy.com. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.